Everyone. So today we'll start with the preparation of haloalkanes and haloarenes. To do with the preparation, we should know regarding nature of CX bond. So what is this CX bond? So here carbon is bonded to a halogen. So we know that if I compare the electronegativity of these two atoms, halogen is highly electronegative when compared to that of the carbon atom. So due to high electronegativity, we can define the electronegativity as it is a tendency to attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself. So therefore, what does the halogen do here? It will attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself, as a result of which there will be a development of polarity. So the halogen will become partially negative, and whereas carbon will have a partial positive charge. And if a molecule has a polarity, then we call such molecules as polar molecule. And the polarity in a molecule can be measured with the help of dipole moment, where dipole moment is nothing but product of charge or magnitude of the charge with a distance between two atoms. And we know here that if I want to measure the dipole moment, I have to take the concept of both magnitude of charge and as well as distance between the atom. But here we know that distance will be usually measured with respect to picometer or Armstrong, where picometer, 1 picometer refers to 10 to the power of minus 12 meter. So where minus 12 refer, it is a very small distance. So therefore distance can be ignored while considering the dipole moment. So what will be the concept here? Dipole moment is directly depending upon the charge, and the charge will be purely depending upon the electronegativity. So based on this concept, I can arrange the various halogen bonded carbon bond as follows, that is CF followed by CCl, then CBr, then Ci. But this is a wrong concept. So there is an exceptional case here. What is that exceptional case? And it is very important for your competitive exam. They'll be asking arrange based on their dipole moment. So you have to write it as CCl followed by CF, then CBr, then followed by Ci. So what is happening here? Why there is a variation with respect to CF dipole moment and as well as CCl dipole moment? So in case of CF and CCl dipole moment, here distance is dominating over the charge. Okay, so since distance is dominating over the charge, why distance is dominating? As you all know, as we go down the group, the size of the atom increases. So as the size of the atom is increasing, the bond length is also increasing. So you know that fluorine, so this is a smaller size, chlorine much bigger, chlorine again, bromine again bigger than the chlorine. Then last one is iodine, which is larger than the bromine. So you can see here that as the size of the halogen is increasing, the bond length is also increasing. As the bond length increases, we can also tell that bond dissociation enthalpy. So what is bond dissociation enthalpy? It is the amount of energy which is required to break a bond, so which is lesser, and it is highly depending upon the bond length. So as bond length increases, bond dissociation enthalpy decreases. Got my point? Or else you can understand like this. What is that is, as the size of atom increases, it creates a stress on the bond, so that the bond will become weaker and very less energy is required to break that bond. So this is the concept of bond length. So we can see here that from fluorine to chlorine, there is a very large change in the distance. Got my point? So due to which we can tell that when we compare the dipole moment of CF bond and CCl bond, the distance is dominating over the charge. So therefore what is happening? CCl bond will be having higher dipole moment compared to CF bond, then followed by CBr and Ci. So here in case of CBr and Ci, we are assuming that electronegativity is dominating over the charge. So therefore CBr is highly electronegative when compared to Ci. So therefore we are arranging them as CBr followed by Ci. So this is regarding the dipole moment concept in case of the haloalkanes and haloarenes. So the next topic is very important. It is nothing but preparation of haloalkanes and haloarenes. So what do you mean by preparation? Preparation is nothing but how to prepare a haloalkane. So you know that in general haloalkane are represented as RX, haloalkane, halogen. Alkane stands for R. Alkane. From alkane only, if I remove one hydrogen, I'll end up with the alkyl group. So this can also be called as alkyl halide. To be more specific, I can tell that preparation of alkyl halide. So we have various methods and very important methods, and you have to understand many concepts here which are important for the competitive point of view. So which is the first method is, so this is a common method which you have already studied in your first year, and it is called as halogenation. Okay, so halogenation is nothing but it is a substitution reaction we are doing for alkanes. As you all know that alkanes are saturated hydrocarbon. So what we are doing is we are removing one hydrogen and we are substituting with one halogen. So it is a substitution reaction, and we have already known from our first year that it is an free radical. Okay, so free radical substitution reaction. Okay, so why free radical is because here the halogenation process will be undergoing homolytic cleavage. And what is a condition for homolytic cleavage is you have to take a alkane and you have to expose it to the diffused sunlight, or it can be UV radiation, or you can heat exactly for 573 to 773 Kelvin. So here what we are doing is, let us take a very simplest alkane. So the simplest alkane is methane. So for this methane, I have to do a halogenation. So let us do chlorination. Why chlorination, I'll tell you later. And now we have to expose this to a diffused sunlight because it has to undergo free radical substitution. And we know that free radical substitutions will undergo homolytic cleavage, and to have a homolytic cleavage, necessary conditions has to be maintained. So therefore H nu is very, very important. So now what will happen? Very simple reaction. One hydrogen will be removed and you have to replace with one halogen. So what will happen here? I'll end up with CH3Cl, which is called as methyl chloride. So the reaction does not stop here. Further it will proceed with the same condition, and I'll end up with a higher substituted alkane. So I'll end up with a CH2Cl2, dichloromethane. And again, if I continue with a reaction, I'll end up with a trichloromethane. Finally, what will happen? I'll end up with a carbon tetrachloride or tetrachloromethane. So this method is not a very best method. Why is that? Is because here we are ending up with a mixture of products, and not only that, separation of mixture of products is very, very difficult. Okay, so let us take another one example. For example, if I take propane, CH3CH2CH3. Okay, so this is propane. So for propane, if I do a halogenation, specifically chlorination, in presence of diffused sunlight, so what will happen? The first step will be the one of the hydrogen will be substituted with a halogen. So therefore that means, can I tell there will be a removal of HCl, hydrogen from the substrate, and chlorine from the attacking reagent. So now what will happen? I can expect only one product here, that is one chloropropane, or I can expect two chloropropane. So you know that there are two chances. One is CH3, CH2, CH2Cl, which is nothing but one chloropropane. And along with that, I can also expect CH3, CHCl, CH3. So this is a 2-chloropropane. So you can expect 1 chloropropane, or you can expect 2 chloropropane. Now how to decide which one is a major product? Very simple concept. This you have studied in your first year, telling that whenever we have a free radical substitution, we will end up with a primary free radical, secondary free radical, and tertiary free radical. So here it is said that 2-chloropropane is a major product when compared to that of the 1-chloropropane. Why is that? Is because here in case of 2-chloropropane, there is a formation of a secondary free radical. And whereas in case of 1-chloropropane, there are chances of forming a primary free radical. So we know that secondary free radicals are more stable when compared to that of primary free radical. So therefore, which one is more stable will be proceeding further. because they form a product. If they are less stable, they'll revert back and give back the original reactant. So therefore stability matters here. So we can conclude that since secondary free radicals are more stable, that will end up with a product formation, and that itself is a major product. On the other hand, something which is less stable, they'll be in a minor product formation. Okay, so this is regarding halogenation method. If we take a simplest alkane and if we have a higher alkane, how to predict the product. So the product prediction can be done based on their stability of the free radicals, which are the intermediates formed during the reaction. Okay, so the next is for your competitive exam, you should know certain informations. Okay, so what is that competitive information you should know? So the first thing is, as I have said you that I'll be doing chlorination as an example under halogenation. Why not fluorination? Why not bromination? Why not iodination? Let us understand. So here you know that fluorine, because of the very small size, it is said that the reaction will be highly fastest in nature. It is so fast that they are uncontrollable. On the other hand, chlorine and bromine, they'll be having a moderate reaction. So therefore, most commonly we will be doing bromination or we will be doing chlorination. So why don't we go with the iodination? Is because of the bulky size, we can tell that the reaction will be very, very slow. Okay, so fluorine uncontrollable fastest reaction, iodination very slowest reaction. So whereas chlorination and bromination are the more preferred one because they are controllable, they are happening in a moderate speed. So let us understand now, if I want especially alkyl fluoride. So I said that halogenation is not a best method for the preparation of the alkyl fluoride. So what is the best method to prepare the alkyl fluoride is, we have one name reaction which is very, very important for your theory exam as well as for the competitive exam, and that is called as Schwarz reaction. So we have a very well known Schwarz reaction if I want to prepare a alkyl fluoride. Okay, so then followed by that, chlorination bromination is a preferred halogenation reaction, so that we can end up with a RCl product, that is the alkyl chloride and alkyl bromides as a product. Whereas iodination being slowest, why it is very slowest reaction is, for example, if I take a methane and make it to react with the iodine. So you know that here what will happen is, I'll end up with a iodomethane, no doubt, but it is a reversible reaction. So and along with that, I can end up with a HI. So you know that reversible reactions are very slow in nature. So here what I can do is, I can remove this HI. How can I remove this HI is, it is by treating with a HiO3. Got my point? We can end up with a iodomethane, no doubt. But the thing is that we have to remove the HI here. So how to remove the HI? By making it to react with the hydroiodic acid. Got my point? So we can also prepare iodoalkane by using iodination reaction, even though it is slow. Why it is slow? Because they undergo reversible reaction. But the condition is, I have to remove this HI. How do I remove this HI? By making it to react with the hydroiodic acid. Got my point? And the last point is, since we are ending up with free radicals as intermediates, so you should know that among the various free radicals, tertiary free radicals are more stable when compared to secondary free radical, when compared to primary free radical. So this is the stability rule you have to remember to predict the product when we take up with the higher alkane. If it is a simplest alkane, no problem. But in case of higher alkane, you will end up with a mixtures. And how do you decide the major and minor product? It is only with their stability of the intermediates which are formed. And what is the intermediate formed here? That is free radical. Okay, so this is regarding the first method called as halogenation method for the preparation of the alkyl halide, which is not so best method because of the mixtures formed. So the next is, we are studying only those methods which we have already studied in the first year. Okay, so first we are understanding only those reactions which are already aware to us. Okay, so I'm taking another one example, so which we have already done in the first year. What is that is, I can take a alkene. Got my point? So here we are taking a alkene from which we have to prepare a haloalkane. So we are understanding only haloalkane preparations first. Haloarenes we'll do later. So now how to do this reaction or how to do this conversion? So you should know the basic knowledge that if I have a saturated hydrocarbon, they have to undergo substitution reaction. Why? Because you know that single bonds are very strong in nature, breaking them is very difficult. So therefore they don't undergo addition reaction, but they undergo only substitution reaction. On the other hand, if I take a unsaturated hydrocarbon, alkene, alkyne, so what will happen? Since they have a pi bond in them, we know that pi bond are weaker bond when compared to that of the sigma bond. So therefore they do undergo addition reaction. So what type of reactions they undergo? Addition reaction. What do you mean by addition reaction? Very simple. You are breaking a pi bond. Pi bond can be a double bond or it can be a triple bond. So when we are breaking a bond, we are supposed to add two atoms adjacent across the carbon-carbon double bond. So we will end up with a product. So let us look on how we can convert alkene into haloalkane. Okay. So let me consider the simplest alkene. So the simplest alkene here is CH2 double bond CH2. It is called as ethene. And here this is an symmetrical alkene. Why it is called as symmetrical alkene is if I place a mirror exactly at the center, I'll be getting a replica. Then it is called as symmetrical alkene. So when the symmetrical alkene is treated with a HCl, hydrochloric acid. Okay, so here hydrochloric acid addition to a alkene can be decided based on the conditions. Conditions play very vital role here. So what is that condition is? Let us consider that if the HCl is present in presence of a CCl4. So what is this CCl4? Carbon tetrachloride. It acts as a solvent in organic reactions. So now what will happen? Very simple. So hydrogen, if I add to one carbon, chlorine should be added to the adjacent carbon atom or vice versa. Why? Because it is a symmetrical alkene. So you will end up with CH3CH2Cl, which is nothing but 1-chloroethane, the IUPAC nomenclature. So this is with respect to simplest alkene. If I go with the next higher alkene, for example, CH3CH double bond CH2. So this is called as unsymmetrical alkene. So when I take a unsymmetrical alkene, you should be very cautious here. First, let us know why it is called as unsymmetrical is because if I place a mirror here on the double bond, I am not getting a replica. So therefore it is called as unsymmetrical alkene. So same conditions I am following here. I will be taking HCl in presence of carbon tetrachloride as a solvent. So what will happen here? So here the reaction has to obey one of the very important rule, which is that rule is that is called as Markovnikov rule. Okay, so it plays very vital role. So what is this Markovnikov rule? Very simple. The positive part will attack to a carbon-carbon double bond which has more number of hydrogen atom. It is something like a poor attracting towards the rich person. Got my point? Same way like an ant will attract towards the sugar. So therefore here also positive, it is deficient. So therefore it will attack to a carbon which is having more number of hydrogen. So therefore now let us look on here. So you can see here that carbon-carbon double bond. I hope you know addition will happen only across the multiple bond. So therefore here hydrogen will form a positive part, will attack to a carbon which is having more hydrogen. On the other hand, the halogen, the anionic part will attack to the adjacent carbon. Okay, so this is the rule which we have to obey when we have an unsymmetrical alkene reacting with an unsymmetrical reagent. This is also called as unsymmetrical because one side we have hydrogen and on the other hand we have a chlorine atom. Got my point? Or in a short trick we can tell that whenever we have a Markovnikov addition, two substituted products are the major one. Okay, so two substituted, refer the substitution will happen at the second carbon or at the second position. So let us look on to the product formed here. So the product will be CH3 CHCl followed by CH3. So you can see here that halogen is substituted for the second carbon. So I'm ending up with a 2-chloropropane. So this is how you are going to predict the product based on the condition. Okay, so now let us look on for the competitive exam information. So what is that competitive information here? Information is, so short form I'll be writing it. So when I have a unsymmetrical alkene with a unsymmetrical reagent, that is HCl, in presence of carbon tetrachloride as a solvent, of course it has to obey Markovnikov rule. Got my point? And here we will end up with a two substituted product. Okay, fine. Then followed by that, I hope you remember whenever we have a Markovnikov addition, so do remember that carbocations will be intermediate. Okay, carbocations will be formed as an intermediate. I do have another one condition. What is that? Another one very important condition is, do remember, same slight change, that's all. Unsymmetrical alkene, when it is made to react with unsymmetrical reagent HCl, but here the condition is differing above the arrow mark. What is that? Is here it will be having presence of peroxide. So do remember, presence of peroxide will change the entire story. So what will happen here is, it will be obeying anti-Markovnikov addition. Got my point? So anti-Markovnikov, opposite to Markovnikov addition. Got my point? So therefore here you can expect one substituted product as a major product. And do remember, this point is very, very important. And whenever we have an anti-Markovnikov addition, of course they'll be having free radicals as an intermediate. Got my point? So you will be having free radicals as an intermediate formation. Last extra information for your NEET exam, do remember, wherever there is a carbocation as a devil formed in the intermediate, there are chances to have a hydride shift, or you can also expect a methide shift, or you can also have a ring expansion. This is important for your NEET and JEE. Why? For example, I'll explain with the help of example. So here, if I have a substrate like this, CH3, CH3, then again followed by that CH double bond CH2. So to satisfy the valency, I should locate one hydrogen. So above this, I'll be writing HBr in presence of carbon tetrachloride. Predict the product. So you know that you have to look on to the, what is that reaction here. Of course, this is an unsymmetrical alkene. HBr, unsymmetrical reagent. And here I have carbon tetrachloride. That means I have to obey Markovnikov addition. And according to the Markovnikov addition, directly I have said you that two bromo products are the major one. So what will you do? You will write a bromine for the second carbon and hydrogen for the first carbon. And you will end up with a 2-bromo substituted product. But it is a wrong answer. You will not have a bromination for this carbon, but in turn the bromination will happen for the third carbon. Why? What is happening? Because here there are chances of the formation of the carbocation. And whenever we have a carbocation formation, so let us look on for the reaction here. So look over here, CH3, CH, CH3, then CH double bond CH2. So you know that when I attack a H plus here, the positive charge will be written for the second carbon. Okay, so if I attack a H plus, or if I add a H plus for the second carbon, the positive charge will be written on the first carbon. So you know that this will be called as primary carbocation, and the previous one will be called as secondary carbocation. And we know from the concept that secondary is more stable than the primary. So therefore now I have to take only secondary carbocation. How to write secondary carbocation? Very simple. I should write a positive charge for the second carbon, and I should add one hydrogen for the first carbon. Very simple. So this is a secondary carbocation. Now, what is meant by methide shift, hydride shift, and ring expansion? Of course, here ring expansion will not happen because it is not a cyclic compound. So here there are chances of having a methide shift and as well as the hydride shift. So we'll explain now hydride shift. What do you mean by hydride is very simple. I'll write this hydrogen like this. So here what will happen is one shared pair of electron along with the hydrogen will be shifting towards the carbocation. Okay, so why these shiftings are happening? Why these rearrangements are happening is so that you will end up with a most stable carbocation. So you know that here I have got a secondary carbocation. Now as a result of hydride shift, so if I write a product you will understand. So you can see here CH3 CH, since the hydride means hydrogen with the paired electron is migrating or moving from this carbon to this carbon to stabilize this positive charge. Since this carbon has lost its one electron, I should write one positive charge on this carbon atom. So that I'll be having here CH2 followed by CH3. So this carbocation is called as tertiary carbocation. How? Check out, carbon with a positive charge are bonded to a 3 more carbon. So therefore it is called as tertiary carbocation. So the rearrangements will be happening until we end up with a most stable carbocation. So we have already got a most stable carbocation. Now what will happen? Br minus will attack there. So you will end up with a CH3 CH3 Br CH2 CH3. So this is the expected product for the above reaction. Got my point? So this is very important for your NEET exams to predict the product when we have a carbocation or a Markovnikov addition. If you have an anti-Markovnikov addition, you need not worry. So why? Because you know that they'll be having a one substituted product with a free radicals as an intermediate. Okay, so this is all about your alkenes, how to take a alkene and end up with a haloalkane by doing Markovnikov additions and anti-Markovnikov addition. Okay, fine. So now we are moving on to a next method, that is from alcohols. Okay, so this is a third method for preparing the alkyl halide by using the alcohols.